So what's going on guys, Kids here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today we will rank every single build in the first Descendant to see which ones are the best and most overpowered. To save some time I will take one best build from each class, and this will of course include all the ultimate characters as well. So unlike other tier lists where we look at the Descendant itself, now we will actually look at each build's damage numbers and see which ones are outperforming each other. And as we know that the current meta right now involves destroying bosses in 5 to 30 seconds, so this will be a big part of our rankings. After I did bunch of testing with my friends, the results were quite surprising. So if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. So then moving over to the first S tier build, and it is the Ultimate Bunny. This is right now known as the high voltage build, which is extremely strong for boss fights, and it will clear hard dungeons faster than any other Descendant build currently in the game. Right now record is about 13 seconds for the boss clear, but it would be even faster if you wouldn't have to wait for the buffs and you would just straight away attack the boss. The playstyle when fighting bosses is to stand within 10 meters and spam the double jump or ground slam damage proc and high voltage procs at the same time while moving around and shooting weak points. I recommend to use a gun with a decent hipfire accuracy, so you can shoot better while moving a lot, and usually players prefer the Thunder Cage or the Eternal Willpower. This build will also hit bosses differently depending on the resistances, but with a yellow reactor you will get crits between 500 to 800k per volt crit on boss. Dangerous Ambush is still very strong versus bosses, and even if you have aggro, then there are moments where the boss isn't casting and attacking you, then your Dangerous Ambush will proc as well. Also, when you break weak points, you will get even more damage for this mod. So then for the next two S tier builds we have the Gley and Ultimate Gley, and as of current patch, the normal Gley still outperforms the Ultimate Gley, because the massacre damage difference is about 13,000 per bullet with the same setup, so that's why I've put both of them together in the same category. No matter which Gley you use, it won't break the build, but if you purely want the best of the best damage, then go with the normal Gley, because he is still the best one. And for both of the Gleys, we will use the massive Sanguification build. This is the overall strongest Gley mode by far. Massive Sanguification treats map object in Void Intercept as an enemy, so you can get insane healing from casting next to pillars. I believe this is intended, since there are other Descendant skills that also interact similarly with the map object, so by being able to gain power of life anytime you want is simply game changing, and the healing enables her to comfortably alternate between the frenzied and non-frenzied state. This is the build right now that is definitely the most overpowered. Then next up we have the one-shot Sharen build, which deserves to be placed in the S tier. So when the game was just released, I really thought that this class will be average, but after the creation of the new one-shot build, this has been definitely proven to be wrong. If you want to be an invisible sniper, then this is the build for you, because by using the overcharge edge module setup and the best sniper aka the Afterglow sword, we will be able to kill any enemy boss in literally a single second. If I was counting just specifically the Void Battle fights, then the Sharen would be definitely at number 1, even past the Ultimate Bunny, but because the sniper build mostly shines in this type of single target fights and not in all missions, so that's why I didn't rank her at number 1. But besides that, all you need to know is to use the specific sniper and module setup. Be far away from the enemy so you wouldn't get hit by him, and then activate the active camouflage to go invisible and then shoot your shot, and that's it. Because of the Sharen's insane buffs, we will be able to 100% guarantee to get a crit and insane damage boost. Then for the next S tier build we have the Freyna. Recently there have been made new sub 30 second builds that can stack all of her poison buffs, and with god rolls, the Freyna can now easily solo bosses as well. The main part that this build is made around is the Venom Synthesis. The Freyna will get a lot more poison damage on the boss if you increase her skill damage. She will also usually take aggro in solo or group play, so that's why we will be using an SMG, and the best ones usually are the Python or the Eternal Willpower. The focus on this meta build is to increase skill power, crit rate and crit damage, which is why you will see mods like the Maximize Power, Emergency Measures, and Toxic Specialist. And lastly, the most important part to know is that unlike the other builds, to truly master Freyna and get insane damage, you will need to grind a lot and maximize every single percentage of your stats. So then for one of the last S tier builds, we have the Electric Bunny. This was the first meta build that pretty much 99% of the players used in the first few days of the release. And it is still good, but not as much, as the Electric Bunny build is focused around speed leveling / AoE damage. And the idea is that the more she runs, the greater the electrical energy she accumulates. So we can generate electricity by moving quickly and spamming the speed of light and lightning emission, and then the rest is up to time, because you don't have to do anything besides just run and use the skills. Because of the modules and the way Bunny electricity works, you will be emitting this blue electric wave that will be basically one-shotting all the enemies around you, and you won't even have to hit them once. I would recommend to use this AoE build for farming, and then the same ultimate bunny build that I just showed you, just with the normal bunny. It will still do really good damage, but just not as much. So because of the normal bunny variety, she still deserves to be in the S tier. And then for the last and final S tier build, we have both the ultimate Lepic and the normal Lepic. The difference between them is even smaller than the Gley, so no matter which one you use, you will get very similar performance in the current patch. The weapons for this build don't really matter. Most players prefer the Gardener, Enduring Legacy or the Thunder Cage. This specific setup is made around stacking burn, AoE and most of our skills, to spam them 24/7, while waiting for our ultimate skill to do massive amounts of damage, and this build will be melting anyone you come across. The trick to melting bosses is to save up mana and then use the overclock skill for insane damage and duration, and then only then we activate the overkill skill. And because of the module setup and our main focus on the skill power modifier, we will be doing insanely high damage. So then let's move over to the A tier, and the first build that we will place in here are both the ultimate Valby and the default Valby AoE setup. This is right now the ultimate way to get millions of XP and items, so I recommend for every player to level your Valby to level 40, and use this build to farm every single thing you need for your other characters. As you can see from the gameplay, as long as you find a group and spots on the map where you can pretty much use this cleanup skill and AoE enemies, then this is the perfect farming build. The cleanup skill makes Valby liquefied. While she is liquefied, she cannot take her feet off the ground or use skills, but she can move through the enemies, and her movement speed and defenses are increased. When moving while liquefied, she creates a path of water that deals continuous damage to the enemies and inflicts laundry. So because of the modules, we will do insane amount of damage, and this will also trigger the electrical and chill resistances. So it's perfect to pair up with the Bunny or Viessa, or even more insane AoE farming. Then for the next A tier build we have the Jayber. So the setup uses both of the turrets to take the attention from our character. So then the boss would leave us alone and we could uninterruptedly do high damage numbers. The gameplay loop consists of activating both the medical and assault turret to distract enemies and give us damage buffs. Then we just deal damage, and when our turrets start getting low HP, then we use the multi-purpose gun. Then we use recall for AoE damage and enhancement. Then we summon turrets back and rinse and repeat. By summoning both turrets, we distract enemies. Then by using the multi-purpose gun, we enhance them and extend the duration. And finally, by using the reactivate, we get to do insane AoE damage and get our turrets back up quickly. This combo allows us to basically get insane damage buffs while keeping all of our turrets alive 24/7. And then for the last two A tier builds, we have the normal and ultimate Ajax. The playstyle for these characters is building up high HP, insane defenses, and still good damage. Void charge is the main important part, but besides that, depending on if you want more shields or damage, then you can mix and match them. Usually Ajax's players avoid the overwhelming modules, because any other that sacrifices shields for more HP or defenses are good to go. Shields are useless right now in the hard mode, so that's why most Ajaxes don't even bother to invest into them. Other than the void energy mechanic, you can also try to play into Ajax's strengths as much as you can, so you can create cover for yourself and allies in locations of your choosing by using the barrier skill, and you can use the void walk to leap into the battle and stun the nearby enemies when you land, dealing AoV damage. This makes Ajax a great team player who can spearhead attacks and keep teammates alive. So then moving over to the next B tier class, and it is the Luna. She is a buff type of support who grants beneficial effects to allies using her own music. She performs a variety of different sounds to give buffs to allies within a radius around her. With a decked out Luna, you will be increasing your group's DPS by more than having just another DPS character. But it will require for the Luna player to be good and geared. The problem with the existing supports is that their base kit is useless. You really need a Transcendent mod to make them good, so that is where the Luna comes into play, with her very powerful base stats. So you can just pick her up and already be powerful and useful to your team. So if you're interested in playing the highest damage support class, then Luna is definitely worth a try. Then next up we have the normal and ultimate Viessa, and both of them deserve to be placed right in the B tier. I was contemplating putting Viessa in the A tier as well, because I've seen lately builds that can solo bosses, but you need to invest so much grinding time and so much mid-maxing that I just decided to place her in her own category. But if you are a Viessa player, then don't worry, because she's pretty much an A tier build with just a single bug that is currently in the game and is not allowing her to shine because of the DPS calculation mistake. The main part of the Viessa build is the cold bloodiness, which increases skill power and decreases skill cooldowns. By using focus on chill and focus on tech, we increase our tech skill power, and because of the nimble fingers, we pretty much get to spam our skills 24/7. And then last but not the least, for the final B tier build we have the Blair. I really had more hopes for this class, but currently it just can't compete against the rest of the godlike builds. The Fire Blair build focuses on the truly deadly cuisine, Descendant, that increases the giant fireball damage. By using this module setup and spamming the Blaze Up skill, we will get 100% crit, so then we can use the deadly cuisine and this will do insane explosion. And even after all of that damage, we will still keep doing fire damage over the next few seconds. Blair is great for AoV farming, but as you can get higher DPS and other AoV builds like the Valby or Bunny, which don't even have to use a weapon or place a skill, so the Blair is just inferior in the current patch and it just can't compete. So then moving over to the next 3 character builds, which are Kyle, Enzo and Esiemo, and all of them deserve to be placed in the C tier. Simply put, these characters just can't compete. Kyle is a character which is better later in the game, because he is ideal for players who prioritize survivability. While you won't be dashing around the map and obliterating enemies like the Bunny, you will be tough to kill and valuable asset to any group, thanks to your powerful abilities. Then we have Enzo, which is a support character, which increases the ammunition capacity of players in a group. Moreover, he can drop supply drones to fill up everyone's ammunition, including heavy and special. He's primarily going to be a team buffer, but since he is able to apply these buffs to himself without the need of an ally or the team, he can also be strong for solo content as well. Obviously, he won't be doing high DPS numbers like the Gley, Lepic or Bunny, but if you want to run through dungeons, battlefield missions or even Colossi with very little hassle, then he is perfect for that. And finally we have the Esiemo, who specializes in explosive damage. He only has AoV builds that focuses on range and cooldowns, that allows you to detonate every 3 seconds. Modules like the focus on fire, MP conversion, frugal, skill expansion, increased HP and HP amplification will all work well for this build. But unfortunately, right now in the current meta, the damage is just not there compared to the S, A or even the B tier. And then for the last and final build, we have the Yujin, that we will place right in the D tier. He is a healer that uses his select drones to heal allies. He can heal friendlies and grant them beneficial buffs after determining the distance between the allies and himself. The main issue with Yujin is the lack of damage. In solo it's pretty much GG, but in group fights at least, you become useful. As I mentioned in the beginning, right now we have the boss melting meta, and Yujin is just not even in the same realm as all of the other builds. And that's about it. So with that said, I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or suggestions, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and not miss any more amazing content. With that said, you have an amazing day and I will see you in the next one. So take it easy, peace.